Girlfriends versus wives. Which one is better? Obviously, if you read the title, you know which one I think is better. But I'm not just saying that as a blanket statement. I have evidence to back up my claims. Now, just to be fair, this was never the case in the past. It used to be that wives were the end-all be-all, the best form in which a woman could exist within a relationship. But as times have changed, gender roles have modernized, relationships and their definitions have changed, as well as those parameters within said relationships to make things a lot more fluid. Now, it's a bunch of new-fangled terms for relationships. Now it's friends, fuck buddies, and talking stages, situationships, all before you get to the girlfriend, and then marriage. It's gotten really, really complicated. And I'm not here to break down all of that, but I'm just here to simplify the age-old question. Are girlfriends better than wives? Yeah, they are. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to go into the 5 reasons why girlfriends are better than wives. The first reason why girlfriends are better than wives: kiss the frog. What do I mean? I mean that if you are a millennial, or even if you're, zennial, or whatever the fuck, you should know about the Disney fairy tale where a princess kisses a frog in hopes of him being a prince. Let's think about the mentality of the woman, of the princess, right? So the woman is having trouble finding a husband. It's really hard. No eligible bachelors out this bitch, And not to say that there aren't any men around her. Of course there are men around her, but not men that meet her standards. So because there are no men of eligibility in her area, she resorts to witchcraft. And she calls upon her local witch and says, hey, I need to find me a Prince Charming. And the witch is like, you know what? See that frog right over there? If you kiss that frog, he'll turn into a prince. And she's like, nah, you joking. The witch is like, nah, dead ass. You kiss that frog, he'll turn into a prince. And she's like, all right, fine. And this bitch kisses the frog. So there are some versions of the story where the frog just ribbits and then hops away. And then there's some versions of the story where the frog actually turns into a prince. But regardless of the outcome, the point I'm trying to make is when a woman is still your girlfriend, she does not skimp on the sexual access if you're doing your job correctly as the man. But if you notice, as soon as you tie the knot, as soon as you jump the broom, as soon as you get wedded in holy matrimony, all of a sudden, all of that sexual effort she was indulging in when you were just boyfriend and girlfriend, or even when you were engaged, all of that activity, it just diminishes rapidly. To the point where now it's non-existent, to the point where now you have to bargain. You have to schedule an appointment with the pussy. And does that really make sense? Are you telling me that I'm getting all this sexual access and I have not put a ring on her finger yet? But as soon as I do, she stops trying to fuck me, stops trying to jump my bones. I have to beg her, please, I have some? Like Oliver fucking Twist? Are you crazy? And that's what men these days are signing up for when they get into marriage. Now you may ask, King's Wisdom, why does the sexual access diminish so much? Well, if I had to paint a picture, imagine that there's a job. Now, this job is very prestigious. Not many people get the job. But once you get this job, even if you lose it, you will get money sent to you for the rest of your life. So whether you get fired, whether you quit, it doesn't matter. You will still be financially taken care of and financially stable just because you got the job. Now think, if once you get that job, it no longer matters whether you work or you don't work, are you going to really work? Probably not. That's what marriage is to women. As long as they get you to sign on that dotted line, after that, it doesn't matter if she works at the marriage or doesn't work at the marriage, because whether she stays in it or you divorce her, she's still getting paid. It don't matter. So what is her incentive to work so hard for the job? There's none. So that's why you'll notice a very, very different type of sexual access as it pertains to a girlfriend versus a wife. The second reason why girlfriends are better than wives: 2 balls, no chain. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that there's a reason why a wife is also called the old ball and chain. Ball and chain is a reference to a prison device used to keep prisoners from escaping, from running away. When you are married, you are very restricted. You don't have the freedoms that you used to have because now everything has to be run by the wife. Let me check in with my wife. Let me see if my wife thinks it's okay. I don't know if my wife would like this. Your balls are in a chain, my nigga. You don't got no nuts no more. You just handed them to her when you sign on that dotted line. Whereas if it's a girlfriend, there's no type of restriction. Meaning, you have all the freedom that you want. You can go out with your boys. You can do all that. The only reason that you're not going out, the only reason that you are limiting your freedom is because of how you feel about the girl. But there's no legal incentive. There's no physical incentive for you to stay in her space. You can come and go as you please because you're not restricted to the same types of parameters with a girlfriend as you are with a wife. So you'll find that having a girlfriend, you have a lot more freedom than you would as a husband. Now, you tell me which sounds better. Third reason that girlfriends are better than wives, Robin De Niro. That is a reference to Robert De Niro, but what do I mean? Well, if you don't know, dinero is the Spanish term for money. And when it comes to money, a wife is much more expensive than a girlfriend. You gotta deal with the engagement ring, the bridal shower, the bachelorette party, the wedding, the honeymoon, the wedding ring, and that's all before the marriage even starts. Who's coming out of pocket for that? Not her, you, dummy. And don't get me started on during the marriage. Everything you have to do now revolves around spending money on making her feel more comfortable. And if you have kids, more money out of there. And if she divorces you, more money out of there. It's just money getting spended all over the place. Just because you liked her a lot. You know what I mean? And when it comes to a girlfriend, you're still spending money, but not nearly as much. Maybe some gifts, some dinners, maybe a trip or two, but it's not nothing crazy. You're not breaking the bank unless you're being financially stupid. But with a wife, there's no escaping it. Money will be spent going in and coming out. Now you tell me, as a man, what sounds more attractive? You can decide. Fourth reason that girlfriends are better than wives. Always get it in writing. What do I mean? I mean that if you have a girlfriend, at any point, at literally any point in the relationship, you can get up, get your shit, and leave. At no cost to you. For free. You just get up and leave. You can break up with her at any point, and it will be absolutely free to do so. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that great? Isn't that just beautiful? There's no binding contract outside of a verbal agreements to date each other. And either you or her can dissolve it at any point whenever they feel that the relationship isn't working. But you don't have to come up out your pocket. You don't have to come up out your resources. You just get up and call it a day. But when you're married, it costs. You ain't escaping that, motherfucker. You gotta pay to get in. You gotta pay to get out, as I just said earlier. There's a binding contract in place. Enforced, not even by you, not even by the church, but by the fucking government. The government needs their cut, my guy. You ain't getting out of here scot-free. I don't care if you walked in on her cheating. You think you can just leave this bitch without paying something to Uncle Sam? Got them fucked up. And best believe, she's gonna get her pound of flesh. Promise you that. And you may think, well, I mean, why is it that way? Why does it have to be that way? The laws in place, regardless of how modernized our society has become, has always favored the women because back when they were instituted, women didn't work, so it made more sense. But now, because women do work, it no longer really makes sense. But because of that, women can abuse and take advantage of the inequalities to basically financially destroy you. So, I say all that to say, what sounds better? A relationship that you could leave at any point, scot-free, or one where you're stuck in legal battles for years? And the fifth reason, or the last reason that girlfriends are better than wives. Be seen, not Amber Heard. Now, what do I mean by that? That is a reference to Amber Heard, who was infamously married to Johnny Depp, and it turns out upon the divorce proceedings that she was fucking crazy. How does this relate to girlfriends versus wives? Well, girlfriends, they usually complain about one thing, if you're doing your job correctly as a man. And that one thing is, why haven't you put a ring on it yet? Why haven't I got more commitment? I need more commitment, I want to get married, yada, yada, yada. That's usually all they're complaining about, that they don't have more commitment from you. Makes sense, right? Because as we've talked about through this entire video, the more commitment they get, the more they can hold you over the coals and take you for everything you got. So why wouldn't they want more leverage? You can't really blame them for that. But a wife, she doesn't complain about one thing. She doesn't complain about 2 or 3 or 4 things. No, a wife complains about everything. Even if you're doing your job completely right, completely correctly, there's no holes in your game. A wife will still find something to complain about. Because women, unfortunately, can never be happy. It's not in their nature to be. They need to go through a roller coaster of emotion. That's just how they are. So they'll be happy one day, sad one day, mad one day, frustrated one day, or just hungry the next day. And that's all before they get on their period. You know? So, I mean, yeah. So what makes more sense to you as a man? Would you rather have a woman that complains about one thing, or a woman that complains about everything? To me, it's not even a contest. Obviously, you got to pick your poison, but there's no woman that complains about nothing. If the woman doesn't complain about anything, that's not a woman, that's a man. It really doesn't make feasible sense, at least in this century, to get married versus just having a girlfriend. Now, I just want to close out by saying that I'm not saying that you shouldn't get married. Actually, fuck it, I am saying that you shouldn't get married, but there's some men that don't care about all the consequences I just listed and still want to get married. If you do, may God be with you, first of all. But second of all, just be aware of what you're walking into. Be aware of the disadvantages. Because it's infinitely easier, infinitely more pleasant to have a girlfriend than it is to have a wife. Yeah, she nags about more commitment, but okay. All right. I'm here, ain't I? If I didn't want you, I would have left already. Like, what are we doing? She's always complaining about that. Jeez, just be quiet. That's it for today, guys. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm King's Wisdom. You're welcome.